The galaxy had long ago decided that the Lithari were doomed. They were small, thin, and delicate. Their bones broke easily, their muscles were weak, and they lacked the natural defenses of other species. No claws, no venom, no armor-like skin. Even their eyes were too large and sensitive, forcing them to avoid bright lights. They survived only by hiding in the deep forests of their homeworld, moving silently and hoping predators ignored them. Other species in the galaxy didn't even consider them worth enslaving. What use was a worker who couldn't lift heavy loads? What good was a soldier who couldn't fight? The Lithari were, in every official record, labeled as non-threat, low value. But fate has a strange way of changing stories. It began on a quiet human exploration mission. The long-range vessel Nova Spirit was charting unknown sectors when they detected a faint distress signal. The transmission was weak, filled with static, but a few words were clear. "Help us. Dying. Food gone." Many captains would have ignored it. There were no valuable resources in that region, no strategic locations worth the trip. But Captain Aaron Hale of the Nova Spirit had a different view. He had a simple rule. If someone called for help, humans answered. His crew consisted of scientists, engineers, and a few Marines. None of them knew who had sent the signal, but they set course immediately. When they arrived, the scene was worse than anyone imagined. A small Lithari village lay in ruins. The surrounding forest burned. Strange scorch marks covered the ground, and the air smelled of ash. The few survivors were gathered in a hollow shelter, too weak to even stand. Their fur was patchy, their ribs visible under thin skin, and their eyes were dull with exhaustion. Dr. Elena Morris, the ship's medical officer, ran scans and shook her head in disbelief. "They're malnourished, dangerously so. If we don't feed them within hours, most won't survive." The Lithari leader, an older male named Relan, tried to speak, but his voice was rough from thirst. "Predators. Burned our homes. We ran. No one came." Aaron didn't hesitate. "We're taking them aboard." Several of the crew exchanged uneasy glances. It wasn't that they didn't care. It was that the galaxy had strict rules about interference. Most species avoided direct rescue of primitive or weak civilizations, claiming it disturbed natural progression. But to Aaron, those rules sounded like excuses for leaving people to die. Over the next hour, the crew carefully moved the surviving Lithari into the Nova Spirit. The small aliens clung to blankets, shivering despite the ship's warm air. Some stared in confusion, clearly not understanding why strangers from the stars were helping them. In the mess hall, crew members placed trays of nutrient paste and soft bread in front of them. The Lithari ate slowly at first, as if afraid the food might be taken away. Then hunger won over caution, and they began eating with quiet desperation. "Captain," said Lieutenant Vega, the tactical officer, "you know what the Council will say about this." "Let them talk," Aaron replied. "We're not leaving them here to die." Dr. Morris worked for hours, treating dehydration, infections, and old injuries. As she did, she noticed something strange. While the Lithari were physically weak, their reflexes were surprisingly fast when startled. Their hands trembled from weakness, but their eyes tracked movement with sharp precision. It was as if their bodies were built for something other than brute strength. On the second day, one of the younger Lithari, a girl named Silri, wandered into the observation deck. She stood quietly, staring out at the stars. When Aaron approached, she spoke softly in broken Galactic common. "You help us." "Why?" Aaron crouched beside her. "Because you needed help, and because we could." Silri's ears twitched in confusion. "Others see us weak. Not worth help." Aaron gave a faint smile. "Maybe they don't see you clearly. We do." Over the next week, the Nova Spirit headed toward human space. The crew taught the Lithari basic words in English, and the Lithari shared. what little they could about their homeworld. They had lived under constant fear of predators, both animal and sentient, for generations. Survival meant running, hiding, and hoping the danger passed. But something began to change aboard the ship. Away from the constant threat of death, the Lithari started to relax. Their shoulders straightened, their voices grew steadier, and they began to explore the ship with curiosity. Engineer Marcus Reed noticed that the Lithari children were quick learners. "You show them something once and they remember every detail," he told Aaron. "Their memory's insane. I showed one of them how to fix a coolant seal, and the next day he was teaching the others." By the time they reached Earth orbit, the Nova Spirit had a decision to make. The Galactic Council would likely demand that the Lithari be returned to their homeworld, or worse, relocated to a preservation zone where they'd remain under constant observation. Aaron met with his crew in the conference room. "We all know what the Council will say," he began, "but I'm not sending them back to die. I'm requesting asylum for every single one of them on Earth." There was no argument. The vote was unanimous. When the Lithari stepped onto Earth, for the first time, the change in their expressions was immediate. The air was fresh, the skies open, and the cities buzzing with life. Human volunteers greeted them warmly, offering clothes, toys for the children, and fresh meals. Reelan, the elder, stood beside Aaron and looked around in disbelief. "We are safe here?" "Yes," Aaron said firmly, "and as long as humans live, you'll stay safe." What neither of them knew at that moment was that this single act of kindness would change the galaxy. The weakest species in known space had just found protectors who would not only keep them alive, but teach them to be more than anyone thought possible. It would take years, patience, and trust. But under human guidance, the Lithari would rise, from prey to predators, and the galaxy would never see it coming. Life on Earth was unlike anything the Lithari had ever experienced. Their first days were filled with both wonder and confusion. Cities stretched higher than any trees on their homeworld. Streets buzzed with vehicles, and lights stayed bright, even through the night. Food was everywhere, stores, markets, and kitchens overflowing with supplies. For the Lithari, safety was the most shocking change. On their homeworld, they could never rest without fear of attack. Here, in the quiet neighborhoods where human families hosted them, they slept through the night without waking to the sound of predators. Captain Aaron Hale didn't just hand the Lithari over to officials and leave. He made sure they were placed into programs designed for long-term survival. Humans didn't see them as weak mouths to feed. They saw potential waiting to be discovered. One of the first places the Lithari visited was a human community center. The building had a gym, classrooms, and a large open courtyard. Human teachers began with the basics: reading, writing, and speaking both English and Galactic common. Children learned quickly, their large eyes scanning pages with intense focus. Elena Morris, who had become the main medical caretaker for the Lithari, noticed something again. "They're not just quick learners," she told Aaron. "Their brains process patterns fast, faster than most humans. You give them a set of movements or a map, and they remember every detail." Training started slowly. At first, the Lithari were encouraged to do light exercises, stretching, balance drills, and short runs. Many stumbled, unused to Earth's gravity, but the food and rest they received began to change their bodies. Bones strengthened, muscles thickened, and their movements became smoother. The biggest shift came when human instructors introduced them to self-defense. The first lessons were simple: how to dodge, block, and maintain awareness. The Lithari took to it naturally. Their instincts, sharpened by years of running from danger, allowed them to predict movement and react instantly. Silri, the young girl, who had once asked Aaron why humans helped them, was among the first to stand out. During a sparring session, she dodged 3 strikes from an instructor without being touched, then managed to tap the target point on his vest in under 2 seconds. That was luck, the instructor said at first. But when it happened again and again, he knew it was skill. Word spread among the trainers. They began adjusting the program, giving the Lithari more advanced drills. Climbing walls, obstacle courses, stealth movement through urban terrain. Marcus Reed, the ship's engineer who often visited to check on their progress, brought in a small robotics kit. He challenged a group of young Lithari to dismantle and rebuild a drone. They not only completed it in half the expected time, but also modified it to run faster and quieter. They think like hunters, Marcus said to Aaron. Not brute force, precision. As months passed, the Lithari community began to form bonds with humans beyond training. They worked alongside farmers in rural areas, learning to grow crops and care for livestock. They helped engineers maintain small machinery. They joined human children in sports, their natural speed making them skilled runners and agile players. Reelan the Elder often walked through the training grounds, watching with quiet pride. "We were told we were weak," he said one day, to Aaron. "We believed it. But your people, you see something else in us." "Because it's there," Aaron replied. "You just needed a chance to show it." The transformation didn't go unnoticed outside Earth. Alien news channels began broadcasting short segments about the strange human project involving the galaxy's weakest species. Commentators laughed, claiming humans were wasting resources. Some even said the Lithari would betray humanity as soon as they grew stronger. Humans ignored the insults. The Lithari kept training. 2 years after their arrival, the first major test came. A storm damaged a coastal human town, cutting off power and communication. Rescue teams were delayed by blocked roads, so a small joint team of humans and Lithari volunteered to go in on foot. The Lithari moved through the debris faster than anyone expected. Their ability to climb and squeeze through tight spaces allowed them to reach trapped families. Their night vision worked even in pitch darkness, helping them guide survivors to safety. When the storm passed, the town called them heroes. For the Lithari, it was a turning point. They were no longer just survivors. They were protectors. Silries. Progress became a symbol of that change. Once the quiet girl who could barely speak in front of strangers, she now led squads through training drills. Her speed and precision in close combat made her one of the top performers in the program. But while Earth welcomed the change, the galaxy watched with growing unease. In a private meeting, members of the Galactic Council argued about the situation. "The humans are altering them," one delegate said. "They were weak and harmless. Now they're becoming soldiers." "If this continues," another warned, "we may face a new military power allied with Earth. One we cannot predict." The Council sent a message to Earth requesting that all Lithari military training be stopped immediately. They claimed it violated interference laws. The human government refused. The reply was simple. The Lithari are free people. They choose their own future. Reelan addressed his people after hearing the news. "We are no longer shadows in the forest. We stand in the light now, and we will walk it with the ones who gave us the chance." By the end of the second year, the Lithari's progress was undeniable. They were faster than most soldiers in close quarters, their reaction times almost impossible to match. Their teamwork with human units became seamless. The galaxy still called them the weakest species in old records, but those who had seen them in action whispered a new name: Warbeasts. The call for help came in the middle of the night. A human Lithari colony on the edge of neutral space had sent a distress signal. Pirates were attacking. Captain Aaron Hale was aboard a patrol ship in a nearby sector when the alert reached him. The message was short but urgent. "They've breached the outer defenses. Need immediate assistance. Civilians trapped." Without hesitation, Aaron ordered the ship to change course. Beside him, Silri stood in her combat armor, calm but alert. Over the past 2 years, she had gone from a scared refugee to one of the most skilled Lithari squad leaders. Now, this would be her first real mission outside training. "You ready for this?" Aaron asked quietly. Silri's ears twitched, her voice steady. "We've trained for this. They hurt our people, they won't get away." The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the colony. From orbit, they could see smoke rising from damaged structures. Small pirate ships hovered above, firing at surface defenses. The humans and Lithari didn't waste time. Dropships carried them to the ground, landing in a secure zone just beyond the main streets. The moment the doors opened, they moved out. Humans. With rifles and armor, Lithari with lightweight gear designed for speed and agility. The first thing Silri noticed was the smell of burning metal and scorched stone. The pirates had already taken parts of the colony, forcing civilians into the central square. Their leader, a tall reptilian alien, barked orders while his crew looted supplies. Aaron split the forces into 2 teams. The humans would draw the pirates' attention with a direct assault, while the Lithari used their stealth to flank from behind. Silri led her squad through narrow alleys, their padded feet silent against the ground. They moved like shadows, slipping past enemy patrols without being seen. From her position on a rooftop, Silri could see the pirates focusing on the incoming human team, exactly as planned. She gave a hand signal. The Lithari leapt from cover to cover, closing the distance. When they were in position, Silri activated her comm. "Alpha team, ready?" Aaron's voice came back. "Go!" The Lithari struck fast and hard. With their speed, they seemed to appear out of nowhere, disarming pirates before they could react. One Lithari knocked a weapon out of an enemy's hands, spun behind him, and pinned him to the ground. Another leapt from a crate, landing squarely on a pirate's back and forcing him down. The pirates had expected untrained civilians, not warriors who moved faster than the eye could follow. Panic spread among them as they realized they were being attacked from 2 directions. Aaron and his human soldiers pushed forward, driving the enemy toward the waiting Lithari. Trapped between precision strikes and heavy gunfire, the pirates' formation collapsed. Silri spotted the reptilian leader trying to retreat toward his ship. She sprinted across the square, weaving through the chaos. He turned, swinging a blade at her, but she slid under the strike and kicked his legs out from under him. In seconds, she had him on the ground, disarmed and restrained. The remaining pirates, seeing their leader captured, threw down their weapons. With the fight over, the civilians began emerging from hiding. Many stared at the Lithari in disbelief. Some had grown up hearing that the Lithari were helpless, barely able to defend themselves. Now, they had watched them dismantle a pirate crew in minutes. One young boy stepped forward, holding a broken toy in his hands. He looked up at Silri and whispered, "Thank you." Silri's expression softened. She knelt, taking the toy and examining it. "We can fix this," she said, handing it to a human engineer nearby. Aaron walked over, looking at the captured pirates. "Get them to the cells, and someone make sure the colony's medical center is operational again." As the teams worked, a Galactic news drone arrived, recording the scene. The footage would be transmitted across dozens of systems within hours. It would show Lithari warriors moving in perfect coordination with human soldiers, their speed and precision unmatched. Later that night, in the colony's main hall, Aaron gathered the team. "You did more than win a fight today," he told them. "You showed the galaxy who the Lithari really are. No one will call you weak after seeing this." Rylan, who had traveled with the patrol ship as an advisor, looked around the room. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The galaxy judged us before they knew us. Now they will learn the truth." The victory spread quickly across human, space, and beyond. Some alien commentators called it a fluke, claiming the pirates were simply unprepared. Others, however, saw something far more dangerous. Proof that under human guidance, the Lithari had become a capable fighting force. In The months that followed, more human Lethari patrols began protecting vulnerable colonies. Each mission built their reputation further, and whispers of the Warbeasts grew louder. But not everyone was happy. Deep in the halls of the Galactic Council, several member species met in secret. The humans have turned them into soldiers, one delegate said. If they keep this up, we could be looking at a new military alliance we can't control. Then we need to act before they grow any stronger, another replied. Plans began forming, plans that would soon test the human Lethari. Alliance in ways neither side expected, and for the Lethari, the real war was only just beginning. The victory at the border colony spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Holoscreens replayed the footage of Lethari warriors fighting side by side with human soldiers. News commentators described their movements as like shadows, with claws, and the phrase Warbeasts began appearing in headlines. In human space, it was a moment of pride. In many other regions, it was a cause for alarm. Inside the towering spires of the Galactic Council chamber, representatives from over 100 species met in a closed session. The hall was a mix of tension and cold calculation. Each delegate sat behind a curved desk marked with their species insignia. At the center, the council chair, an elder from the Vathoran Empire, called the meeting to order. The humans have taken it upon themselves to alter the natural state of a weak species, the chair began, his voice echoing through the chamber. The Lethari were classified as non-threat for centuries. Now they have been trained as soldiers. This is dangerous. A tall insectoid representative clicked his mandibles in agreement. If this alliance spreads, they could upset the balance of power. We already know human warfare is unpredictable. Now they are teaching it to others. Others spoke with open fear. Humans have no respect for council authority. First, they ignored our interference laws. Now they are building a force that answers only to them. But not all agreed. A few delegates argued that the Lethari had the right to choose their own path. They were abandoned by everyone, said a representative from a minor trade world. The humans gave them a home. Perhaps the rest of us should have done the same. The chair silenced the debate with a sharp gesture. Enough. We must decide how to proceed. If we allow this to continue, the humans will create more alliances like this, and the council will lose control. After hours of discussion, the decision was made. The council would demand that all Lethari military training stop immediately. They would also require the Lethari to be relocated to a neutral habitat under council supervision. The message was sent to Earth within the hour. On Earth, the response from the human government was firm. Ambassador Lena Drake stood before the council's holographic transmission, her voice calm but unyielding. The Lethari are free people, she said. They are not property, not subjects, and certainly not yours to command. They have chosen to live and train alongside us. They will remain free to make their own decisions. The council's chair leaned forward, his expression cold. You are destabilizing the galaxy. No, Lena replied. We are giving someone a chance to survive. Maybe you fear that because it reminds you of the times you did nothing. The transmission ended, but the tension didn't. Meanwhile, in the Lethari districts on Earth, life went on. Training continued, patrols rotated, and children still played in the parks. But the news of the council's demand spread quickly among them. Silri was sparring with another Lethari when Marcus Reed walked into the training hall. We just got word, he told her quietly. The council wants to take you away from Earth. Silri froze. And the humans? They're refusing, but it's going to cause trouble. Rylan gathered the Lethari community that evening. They sat together in a wide circle, the city lights shining in the distance. We are not leaving, he said firmly. We spent generations hiding, running from one predator after another. We found safety here, with humans. They call us allies, not burdens. I will not return to the shadows. The crowd agreed. The council's next move was more direct. A fleet of council security ships appeared at the edge of human-controlled space. Their leader, Admiral Selvar, sent a message stating that they would escort the Lethari to neutral space. Captain Aaron Hale was assigned to the border patrol. He watched the incoming fleet's icon blink on his display. "That's not an escort," he said to his crew. "That's a forced removal." He sent a message to Silri. "Get your people ready. I don't think they'll ask twice." Silri gathered her squad. They weren't looking for a fight, but they wouldn't be taken without choice. The standoff lasted for hours. The council fleet demanded compliance. Human ships blocked their advance. Finally, Admiral Selvar's voice came, over the comm, cold and sharp. "Captain Hale, you are interfering with an official council operation. Step aside," Aaron replied. "These people are under human protection. If you want them, you'll have to go through us." Silence followed. Then the council fleet withdrew, but it was clear this wasn't the end. Over the next weeks, tensions escalated. Trade between human and council worlds slowed. Accusations flew across news networks. In human space, support for the Lethari grew stronger. People sent supplies, offered homes, and even volunteered to train alongside them. Silri noticed something in the younger Lethari trainees. They were more determined than ever. "We can't let them take this away from us," one said during drills. "We fought to be here. We're not going back." Reland stood beside Silri after training one evening. "The council thinks they can scare us," he said quietly. "But they don't understand. We have something now we never had before, hope." In the council chamber, however, another plan was taking shape. The delegates who feared the Human-Lethari alliance had decided to use a different method. Instead of direct force, they would wait for an opportunity, an attack, a crisis, that they could use as justification for intervention. They didn't have to wait long. In a distant sector, a hostile alien empire began raiding small colonies. The council saw their chance. "We will authorize a joint operation," the chair announced, "to protect vulnerable systems, and as part of this, the Lethari will be placed under council command for their own safety." But they didn't expect what would happen next. Because humans and Lethari had already decided if war was coming, they would fight it together, not under the council's leash. The war came faster than anyone expected. The hostile empire, known as the Dracs, moved like a storm across the outer colonies. Their warships were larger, their weapons stronger, and their raids ruthless. They took supplies, destroyed defenses, and left nothing but fear in their wake. The Galactic Council called for a joint defense, but their orders were clear. The Lethari would be placed under council command. Earth refused. In a meeting at Human Fleet Command, Captain Aaron Hale stood with Admiral Torres, Ambassador Lena Drake, and Rylan. A large holographic map displayed the Dracs' advance. "If we let the council take charge," Torres said, "they'll scatter the Lethari units into small roles. They'll never be allowed to fight the way they've been trained." "Then we don't give them that chance," Aaron replied. "We keep the Lethari with us. We hit the Dracs where they don't expect it." Rylan stepped forward, his voice calm but sharp. "My people will not hide in the rear. We've run enough in our history. We fight at the front with you." The decision was made. Humans and Lethari would form a single strike fleet, fast, coordinated, and dangerous. The fleet launched within the week. Human cruisers formed the core, with smaller Lethari-designed ships surrounding them. These new ships, built in Earth's shipyards with Lethari input, were sleek and agile, perfect for sudden strikes. Silri commanded one of these ships, the Shadow's Edge. Her crew was a mix of Lethari and human specialists. "Our job is to hit them fast, cripple their engines, and vanish before they can react," she told her team. No mercy for the Dracs. They showed none to the colonies. Their first target was a Drax supply convoy near the Void Passage. The enemy ships were heavily armed but slow. The human Lithari fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel with perfect timing. Human cruisers opened with long-range missile fire, forcing the Drax to raise shields in the wrong direction. Then the Lithari strike ships swept in from the flank. Silri's voice was steady over comms. "Target their engines! Now!" The Shadow's Edge and two sister ships darted between the larger Drax vessels, their weapons firing in precise bursts. In less than 2 minutes, 3 enemy ships were disabled. The rest tried to retreat, but human destroyers cut off their escape. When the battle ended, not a single friendly ship was lost. Word of the victory spread quickly, but so did the anger from the Council. They accused Earth of breaking unity in the war effort. The human reply was simple: "We protect our allies our way." The Drax, however, were not finished. Days later, they launched a massive assault on a key human Lithari colony called Haven's Reach. It was a peaceful world, home to thousands of civilians from both species. When the warning came, Aaron's fleet was already moving to intercept. In the command center of his flagship, the Nova Spirit, Aaron studied the incoming enemy formation. "They're bringing everything," he muttered. "Silri, you'll take your squad through the canyon route on the planet's surface. Use it to get behind their ground forces." Silri nodded. "We'll cut their supply lines and trap them. Between us." The battle began before dawn on Haven's Reach. Drax troop carriers descended in waves, their fighters swarming the skies. Human anti-air defenses lit the horizon, while Lithari units moved through the forests like shadows. On the ground, the fighting was fierce. The Drax were strong and heavily armored, but they were slow compared to the Lithari. Using speed and terrain, the Lithari warriors struck from unexpected angles, disabling weapons and forcing the Drax into confusion. Silri's squad slipped into the enemy's rear lines, targeting their fuel depots and communication relays. Explosions tore through the Drax camp, cutting their forces in half. In orbit, Aaron's fleet fought to keep the Drax warships from landing reinforcements. Human cruisers took heavy fire, but every time a ship began to falter, a Lithari strike. Craft darted in to take pressure off. Hours into the battle, the Drax began to retreat. Their commander's ship tried to escape the planet's gravity, but the Shadow's Edge was waiting. Silri's voice over comms was cold and steady. "Target locked!" One precise shot crippled the enemy flagship's engines, sending it spinning, out of control. The battle was over. Haven's Reach stood. The aftermath was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. News footage showed humans and Lithari standing side by side in the ruins of the battlefield, victorious. Civilians cheered for both species equally. In the council chamber, the delegates could no longer call the Lithari weak. The old classification of non-threat was erased from the official records. Reluctantly, the council acknowledged the human Lithari alliance as a legitimate military force. But recognition wasn't what mattered most to the Lithari. What mattered was the change within themselves. Relan addressed his people in a gathering on Earth. "We are no longer the prey hiding in the dark. We are hunters now. We are protectors, and we will never again live in fear." Silri stood beside Aaron, looking out over the crowd. "When you first found us," she said quietly to him, "we were dying. Now, we are alive, and stronger than we ever dreamed." Aaron smiled. "And the galaxy knows it. The name Warbeasts was no longer whispered. It was spoken with respect. Enemies feared it. Allies welcomed it. And for the first time in their history, the Lithari didn't just survive. They thrived, side by side with the humans who had given them a chance when no one else would.